because the lack of money, because the cultural aspect and the cultural criteria. It's not only linguistic; it's also cultural. I have a lot of humoristic content from Ivory Coast, which does not work even in Burkina Faso, and not, of course, in Cameroon. Many produced in Wolof, and if there is no dubbing, and dubbing is costing a lot. If there is no dubbing from Wolof, nobody can watch this movie if they don't speak Wolof. So you understand that even if there is a bigger number of clients, it is still and you get some money. The other aspect of distribution issues is the technical patchwork in Africa. In many countries, there are still analogic distribution or distribution or channels. They are analog and digital. In some countries, they are all digital, and it could be difficult to find the clients in this case, because they are people are not able to watch the TV, or not able to watch the digital TV. So it's a problem. But more and more, because this is an international obligation for African countries, they will be obliged to move to digital, and 2025 is a deadline for the market to be 100% digital. And I hope it will be done before. As I said, is a patchwork of big differences between markets. You have local and national broadcasters. You have international or Pan-African broadcasters, mostly by satellite. You have more and more internet-based channels, like VOD platform or on YouTube, for instance. And this is an issue for the rights you have in your catalog, because if you want to reach a Pan-African broadcaster, I can say DST, or I can say the Francophone International Pan-African Channel, you can't sell content to these Pan-African broadcasters if one or two or more countries of the satellite footprint are not possible because you have been selling your rights to a local broadcasters. Or, for instance, this is the case in Cameroon, for instance. Many Cameroonese producers prefer themselves and to make money on their market. And when I'm talking with them, and when they told me I keep Cameroon, I say no. If you keep Cameroon, I can do my for African content are Pan-African, and if I cannot bring Cameroon on their footprint, they will not be interested. So you have to discuss with your producers in order to make them understand that it could be a deal breaker if they keep their territory for themselves, because they consider that it's easier for them to make money. That could be understood, but when it becomes a problem because you are not able to find bigger clients, it is difficult. So the discussion between the producer and the distributor on what is a key criteria of success for distribution, because if there are a clash of rights between what you as distributor you have and what are the rights which are kept by the producer, it could be a problem. I hope I'm clear enough on that question, but we can come back on it if it's not clear. So I continue with my presentation. Linguistic aspect of the of the Africa. This is not. This is one of the major problems. It could be very interesting to to work in different languages, but Africa, as you can see on my own slide, there are more than 1,000 different languages which are spoken in this on this continent, and there are some countries where you can find more than 60 languages spoken by the people in the same country. So of course, today more and more, when we distribute the content, we are distributing the content in two languages, French and or English. And the best, of course, is to have the two languages, I mean, original French and a dubbed version in English, or subtitled, or English original and French subtitle or French dubbing. Portuguese, of course, there is a big part of the Africa, which is African territory, which are Portuguese, Mozambique, Angola, and in this case, you have to dub into Portuguese if you want to sell on these territories, or you have to dub in French or English if you want to promote the Portuguese speaking countries' content outside these countries. More and more, we can find clients who are interested by local languages. No later than yesterday, we have a demand from South African clients who is looking for Zulu content. Unfortunately, we have no Zulu. I think that we have one very good film called Kanga in a local language, South African language, but I have nothing in Zulu. Sometimes in Tanzania, for instance, there are broadcasters who are looking for Swahili content. I have some programs in Swahili, but very, very little. And of course, to dub content in Swahili is an issue because the cost of dubbing in Swahili is high, and the price that you can find, the money you can raise on Swahili territories is low. So you have to make a very quick decision. And if you want to dub into Swahili or into Lingala or into other big languages, I can see you see the most important languages in Africa: English 700 millions, Arabic more than 1 million, Swahili 100 millions. The problem is with Swahili, for instance, that when you have content from Tanzania, it's quite difficult to sell it in Rwanda or in Kenya, and vice versa. French is an increasing number of people speaking French in Africa, and I read a few months ago that the number of French-speaking people in Africa will be reaching more than 150 million of people in few years. So it is an increasing market. Hausa, 50 millions, mostly Northern and Central Africa. Ororo, Yoruba, 30 millions, you know. So, and I have also, I had a few months ago a demand in Amharic, Ethiopian country. Japan. So it's a patchwork of language, and it could be very costly to have your catalog in all these languages. Of course, it is impossible, and you have to make choice. And of course, unfortunately for the local languages, the choice is mostly English, Arabic, or French to promote on a wide basis your content. I continue. This diversity is a chance, of course, and this is why it is interesting to be a distributor on the content today, because there are more and more people who are traveling and they are hungry to have information about the new countries, the new cities. And for instance, we are looking for content which will travel. Today, I'm working on a co-production between three countries, which are Democratic Republic of Congo, Cameroon, and Ivory Coast. And for this co-production, we have the possibility to shoot in two very famous countries. One is Abidjan, because it's one of the most modern city in Western Africa, and the second city is Goma. Goma it's a small city in northern DRC, which is more famous for the problem than for the beauty of the city. There is a volcano, there is a lake with gas which killed many people 10 years ago. There are fights between militia, and it's a war situation sometimes. But Goma is one of the most beautiful cities that I ever seen in Africa. It's on a lake, and it's like the beautiful Italian lakes. It's a small city under a mountain, and we are going to shoot in this city in order to make the city most well known by the African, even by the Congolese themselves. And this is the strength of the content that you can promote, and you can promote cities, you can promote countries, you can promote culture. Sorry. This is what we are trying to do, and to use diversity as a chance for the content to travel. When I've been launching DIFA 10 years ago, it was because I was working in Africa for European Union, and when I was watching TV, I was only watching telenovelas. And telenovelas is very interesting, but telenovelas is not an African content. And when I have been launching DIFA, it was only to provide to African broadcasters African content in order to replace telenovelas on their grids and their programming grids. It's still important in Africa to have telenovelas, but more and more we have the chance to promote series and to promote films in different countries, and Africans are now having the chance to watch not only telenovelas, but also African content. And as Layani is listening to us, is sharing the conference, he was the guy who worked with A+, the new channel dedicated to African content 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, and he will explain probably why it was an issue for Canal+ to provide more and more African content if you want to be successful in Africa. But in this case, of course, as I said, the diversity means dubbing in many cases because of the languages barriers. As a distributor, to come back to the main topic of the conference, to be a distributor for us, it means supporting African producers and African directors. And in DIFA, we have been doing also the choice to promote movies made and series made by women. And we have been very successful in that sense. For instance, Frontières, Borders, was a film from Apolline Traoré from Burkina Faso, and today Borders is one of the most famous films coming from Africa, and it was The Guardian, which is a big newspaper in England, have made a classification of the best African movies from the century, and Border from Apolline Traoré is one of these movies. But we have many other movies made by women and young women. We are selling now some content made by students in schools ISMA in Cotonou, for instance, is one of the best cinema school and TV school in Africa, and we have 2 short movies made by students at the end of the courses. They are all students are doing movies, and I have 2 short movies from these students, which are very great, and we are able to sell these short movies by students all over Africa. DIFA is also trying to promote fresh content and new original content. In many countries, like Cameroon, sometimes like in Burkina, like in Nigeria, it is always the same thing that you can watch in movies or in series. And there are so many other potential for African content coming from books, for instance. And to adapt books for the screen could be a very interesting possibility for producers and directors to find new ideas, new concepts in order to make their movies. The third thing that we are trying to do as a distributor is to provide the best distribution strategy to the producers who are reaching us. And I mean to add as more as possible clients when we are selling the content. Of course, sometimes you can sell content for very low price, $60 per episode. In Rwanda, for instance, when you are selling a series, you are not able to sell more than $60 for 26 minutes. Same case in Ghana, same case in Burkina Faso. So of course, if there is only one sale, it's not interesting. And what we are doing within DIFA is to try to add small sales, and this is a way that at the end the producer have made good money from the market, because we have been able to sell many times the same movie. I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
Can I ask you a question?
No, of course. Don't hesitate to interrupt me, and because I know that I'm very interesting, but do not hesitate to interrupt me.
Okay. My question is, what are the criteria if I am a filmmaker to choose a distributor, and what should the question I should ask him?
Okay. Alors, if I am a producer, the first question I have to ask to the distributor is why it will be interesting for me to work with you, and what will be the advantage of going to make business with a distributor instead of doing the business by myself. The distributor is not the guy who is just taking 30% of the sales to put in his pocket. This is not the case, because there is so many opportunity to make money on the market, that you have to imagine that being by yourself the salesperson could be more expensive than trying to work with a producer. When I gave the example of the Rwanda and the Ghana and the Burkina market prices. When you sell, and even with big broadcasters like StarTime, when a broadcaster pay you less than $100 for 26 minutes, you imagine that you must have a lot of hours to sell before making money. It's not only the case for the producer, but also for the distributor. I mean that it will take you more time to find the broadcaster or clients, not only broadcaster, but video on demand platforms. It will take you time to find the clients, and when you will have find the clients, it will take time to convince him to buy the content. And when you have been convincing to buy the content, because you have to screen. You have to screen. You have to share the content with his team within the broadcasting company, and then you will come to the discussion of the deal. And what is the deal? How much are you going to pay? And you will understand that they pay very few, or even they are waiting for sponsors or barter. I will come back to barter before buying your content. So distribution is a very long process, and Layani, who is listening to us, will explain that to you. It can take months before being able to sell a content, and to sell a content for very low money. So you have the choice between doing that by yourself. But then, when you are doing that by yourself, you have to travel, you have to market your content, you have to make a newsletter, you have to have a good website where people are able to watch your movie. It takes time, it takes money, and during this time, you are not producing, because as a producer, your main goal for your business is to make content, is to produce. And to be a producer, and you know that, it takes time to find money. And there are few money to produce today in Africa. So you have to take time, you have to watch, to find, to raise money for your content. So you have to choose between trying to sell or trying to produce. This is the first criteria when you, as a manager of your company, have to decide, I am able to do that, or I'm not able to do that. I can find example of producers who are doing their own distribution. I have example, my fellow shareholder, Jean-Hubert Nancam, have been successful years ago to sell his 2 series by himself, Teenager and Class A. But today it's more and more difficult, because he have only these 2 series to sell, and these series have been sold many times. So there is no more market, and he is trying to produce other series, and it's very difficult. So he prefers to work with us as a distributor, and he is concentrated and focused on his business model, making a new content. The other criteria for you when you are working, if you decide to work with a distributor, is to find the good way of working together. I used to say that it's like in a couple. Producer and distributor is a couple. We in DIFA, we were successful compared to some others. I don't want to give their name here, because we have been trying to be very interactive with our producers for years, from the beginning. And this is probably because in the past I was at the head of a producer association in Europe, and I know what is a producer. I know when they are lying. I know when they are telling the truth. I know when there are difficulties, but I know how to talk and to speak and to work with producers. And I have to respect what they are, the difficulty of being a producer, difficulty of being a manager of a small company in Africa. And the best way to work well together is to speak, to exchange, and to do the job in full transparency. Even when, 2 times a year, we are giving to the producers in DIFA, we are giving the results of what we have been doing with their content. Even if we are not successful in selling their content, we tell them, what we have been doing with your film, with your series. This series has been promoted in 10 or 15 broadcasters. We try to put it in theaters. And we are not successful, but they know that we have been doing something with their content. And this is a key issue for us as a producer, as a distributor, is to give the feeling to the producer that we are working for him in full interest. And he will understand that when we make money from his content, is after he makes money, because we are paid. And we are happy to be paid once producer has been paid. So the third question when you are working with a distributor is, do I have a good feeling with him? Do I have do he respect me as a producer? And this is a key discussion. Of course, at the end, the most important is to make money with your content for you as a producer and for us as distributor, because we make money when your content is sold. For instance, I give you an example of what is a nightmare for a distributor and for a producer. I am trying to. I've been supporting a series called Zulu Kata on Ivory Coast. Zulu Kata was the first series made by a young producer and director about the Zulu Kata music, which is very famous in Abidjan. In all the taxi, you are listening to Zulu, and this is after the coupé décalé, the music that the Ivory people prefer. I've been supporting this series. The first season was sold to the public TV, and the second season, which is now produced, has not been sold even to the public television because they have no more money. So we are fighting, and for this second season, we are, as DIFA, we are co-producer. We are fighting for about 1 year with the public TV to sell them the second season, because it's difficult to go to the new broadcasters with Gulkata, because the first season was on the public TV, and they need, of course, this new broadcaster to have also the first season in order to put on air the 2 seasons. So, this is a nightmare for him, because since the production of Zulu Kata season 2, he didn't produce anything more because he has no more money. He has been investing his money in this series. I have been investing too the money in the second season, and we are still waiting the decision of the public TV in Ivory Coast, because this is the first client. This is an example of. So I'm talking with these guys every 2 days, sometimes 2 times a day. We are exchanging on WhatsApp, on Messenger, and he knows that on an everyday basis, me and my team in Abidjan are trying to sell and to convince the public TV to buy the second season. This is an example of what we are experiencing every day. There are some content which are immediately successful on the market, and there are content which are not successful on the market, but they are good content, and we have to fight for this good content. I do not know if I've been answering your question, Karine.
Yes, you do.
Is there any other question from the floor? Hello? Layani, you salesperson in DIFA, yes. Can you give us some insight of what of your job, and how you are marketing the content, how you are dealing with the clients, how you are trying to convince them? Tell this person what is your everyday business life.
Okay. First, on a daily basis, as you know, I'm working with as a consultant, head of sales for DIFA, and I also have activities in a Pan-African channel, where I act as a program director. About my past, I was previously, as Alan said, the head of acquisition of a Pan-African channel called A+, which launched in 2014. So I am at the both hands of the market, basically, as a distributor working with the producers, and as a channel manager. So first of all, I wanted to share my views and to detail some of the aspects that Alain have been sharing with you. To sell a content is very difficult uh, because in Africa there are issues with financing the content, and producers tend to produce to have the impossibility to produce volume of content. For example, we received when I was in A plus contents with maybe 10 episode of 13 minutes, 10 episode of 26 minutes, but it's very difficult for a programming schedule to base a strategy on such little volume of contents. And right now, most of the channel, because they tend to replace telenovelas, which are very big volumes, need to scratch their head because they cannot find the volume of content that they need to to be effective with their audience. Secondly, there is an issue with the technical quality of the content, issues with the sound, issues with the light, and for the stories, African producers tend to copy the formulas that they think will be able to have success on the local markets. But you need to think at a higher scale. You need to think that my content will have to export internationally or even regionally. And as Alan said, Ivorian audience are not quite the same as the Burkinabe audience. Cameroonian audience is not the same as Ivory Coast audience. Nigerian audience is not the same as Burkinabe audience. So you need to have, of course, stories that speak to the people, but you need to think internationally. You need to have original contents. You need to think about what could I bring to somebody from the Ghana, somebody from the South Africa, etc. And you need to think also about the diaspora, the international diaspora, the African descendant, Afro-descendant diaspora, who want to have stories, local stories, who want to have stories from their past, story from their background, but they also need quality. They also need you to have to lower the gap, the technical gap between what they can see in the Western country and what they could see in the African country. Secondly, there is the language barriers. As you know, we cannot tell you to produce your content in French to bring the French audience, but you need to think about the dubbing, because experiences, I worked with a dubbing company, and which was specialized in Nollywood content, and technically they could not do the job of dubbing because you producers did not think about the international versions. You need to think about the international version.
Music and effect. Music and effect.
Music and effects, yes. That's very important. If you do not think about that, you will have issues in having a good dubbing, and your dubbing will be very costly. And as a buyer, and I'm putting my hat of a former buyer from a channel, a distributor is very important. First of all, you have to know that acquisition team in channels is very seldom. Sometimes this is the managing director who does that. Another time sometimes this is the programming director who does that. So acquisition team are very not very structured in most of the channels in Africa. And when you have a distributors who have a long catalog, you know that you could work easily with him because he knows his job. First of all, on the administrative side, companies can only work with companies, which means that corporations are very much easier to work with, because sometimes producers are not established as corporation. Sometimes it's more the case in West Africa or Central Africa, in Francophone countries. So, of course, distribution companies are corporate, so it is easier on the administrative side to work with them. Secondly, the transfer of material. We all have WeTransfer, we all have digital transfer, logical, but a distribution company is very used to that. They can share the content more easily with the technical teams of the channels. And distribution companies will ask you for promotional kits. They will do some graphics to put your content in to be more marketable. This is very important to have marketable promotional kits. And I won't be too long because maybe Alain has developed this further. But buyers are more likely to improve their financial offer if they are used, they speak with accustomed contact. This is not my case actually, but sometimes this market, this industry is made of contacts. It's easier to have a content going through the barriers with a good contact. A good contact, a person you trust in, a person you know that they will bring the right content at the right time when a channel needs them. Okay. And the most important is the network. Today, Mr. Modo, for example, or other distributors are there in the Zuma festivals, and they can travel, they can go to the market, they can do webinars. This is not the case of a producer with the job, the main job is to produce, is to create. So this is a very important factor in having a distribution company. I don't know if you have questions, but I think I summed up what I wanted to bring to the table.
Thanks, Layani. Yes, you have been explaining some key issues of working on the market with your clients. And we are mostly talking about the broadcasters because this is the main part of the market. You know, it's very difficult to make a successful theater release all over Africa because of the lack of theaters. This is not the case in Nigeria because sometimes you can make good business with your movies when you are launching the movies, but it's only for few producers, and most of the producers of Nigeria are not able to make money with theater release. VOD is still difficult today. There are some very good examples of good sales to Netflix for big amount of dollars, but this is very, very, very difficult. And the guy who is buying African content on Netflix is from Nigeria, and he is really selective, and it is difficult to make sales. As Layani explained, you know, the importance of the distributor is that he can first, he's supposed to know the market better than you. You know, he has the contact with the good salesperson in different channels. He knows when the budget have been voted in their company for public television. He knows when the money will be available. He knows he is able to provide security for the rights with the broadcaster. You know, it's not possible, as it was done years ago, to sell 2 times the same right to different countries, you know, or to different clients. So you must provide security to the clients, and when you bring the right, you have the right. And this is why, with our producers, we are working on an exclusive basis. I don't want to be to find 2 persons on the market who are selling the same content to the same client. You know, it's a nightmare for the client. It's a nightmare for the distributor, and the client do not know who is going to trust the same content at the same time.
Okay.
So this is our way of working with the product. Excuse me.
Can you hear us? Hello?
You have questions?
Yes, we want to pause you and get some people to ask you questions, please.
Yes.
Is that okay by you?
Yeah, we are waiting for the questions, no problem.
Okay, so hold on. Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, participants, you've been listening to them, and they've been talking on marketing and distribution. And online and television rights, and so please, this is the time for questions. If you have a question or contribution, please just raise up your hand. We'll bring the microphone to you. You ask the question, and they will answer you. Any question, please?
Sorry, the line is not very good, and I do not understand clearly the sound is really bad, and I do not understand clearly the question. Is that possible to send the question by texto on the chat box?
Okay. Well, if you have questions, we'll send them to you through the chat box. But in the interim, maybe you continue with your presentation.
Okay, so I've been telling that I'm already working with different Nigerian producers. Some have been joining DIFA years ago, and I must say that one of the most successful sales with DIFA was with a Nigerian movie, Last Flight to Abuja. I know that I'm sure you're working with a distributor, even if the market is difficult. For instance, if there are still no more questions, what is revenue share? Okay, revenue share. Revenue share. This is the last thing that the broadcasters have been finding, not to give you money upfront. No, I'm joking. Revenue share is mostly for VOD, video on demand, and SVOD, subscription video on demand. It means that a platform, and I can give you all the big names like Orange or MTN or Vodacom or Vodafone, when they provide content on the cell phones, on the tablets, on the computer, they don't buy the content to the producer or to the distributor. They prefer to make a deal with them and explaining that we are going to share the revenue. It means that they put your content on their platform, they are doing some marketing to their subscribers, and then they try to convince their subscriber to watch and to pay to watch a movie in streaming. After 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, they give you the number of clicks, the number of customers who have been buying time to watch a movie, and if the movie, for instance, is sold by on the platform 1,000 euro or $1,000, and if 2 persons have watched the movie, so the revenue is $2,000, and the revenue share means that these $2,000 will be shared between the platform and the distributor. So most of the time, the revenue share is not on an equal basis. It's very difficult to share the revenue on a 50-50 basis. Most of the time, as a distributors, you can have 30, 40, 50 is very, very difficult. So 40 is the average, and 30 is today the trend. So it means, and the video platform explains that they have a technical cost, they have marketing cost, they have different cost, and and you are paying for their cost, in fact. So when they make $100 of revenue with the movie on the first month, for instance, you can share up to 50-50 or 30-70, depends on the deal.
Hello, Mr. Murdoch. Can you hear us?
The cost, yes?
Okay, can you hear us clearly now?
No, there is an echo.
Okay, because there's some questions, about 4 or 5 questions in the hall now that we can
Okay,
ask
it's better
you.
now. It's better. If you keep it that way, it's better.
Yes. So should we read the questions to you or type them down on the Zoom chat room for you to read?
Okay, just ask the first question now. See if it works.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will have to go back to the chat.
Okay, the first question says, you said that getting to sell Nigerian films on the Netflix and SVOD has been difficult. What do we do to improve on this? So that film on Netflix, even though I've been seeing some on Netflix, but the question is how do
Africa, but the three main territories that they are targeting are Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya. And why Kenya? Kenya, because they have now a new person coming from Kenya who is dealing with Netflix originals. So she is investing in content financed by Netflix, and as she is from Kenya, she is supporting most of the time her brothers or her friends.
Okay.
And sometimes, of course, South